Hello and welcome to Excel Highway. This is part 3 of the staff automated booking file. This will be the last part, and in this part we will continue to deep dive into the user forms and VBA code used to automate this file. In case you didn't see the rest of the files, parts 1 and 2, check out the links in the description. Enjoy! This video is sponsored by Connecteam. Let's talk about employee constraints. Employee constraints, a little bit more complicated. Combo box for the employee names, combo box for date, combo box for shift, combo box for from to date, which is the same combo box, and combo box for reason. Then you have an add constraint button that doesn't work if you don't fill everything out, and add day off, that's not going to work if you have everything. Let's take a look at the code. This one is going to work on the employee constraints sheet. You can see the structure. So you have the date, shift, and name, and then a key to basically concatenate all three, or you have the for the day off. Let's take a look. Okay, so as you can imagine, I've used the same method for updating the combo boxes. I have 6 in this case. Some of them are the same, so these are the dates. I can tell by these are the same. The name of the person, and the 2 reasons or for not attending, or should be the shift. Sorry. So that's gonna utilize that's gonna initialize the user form with all the combo boxes. Home as before, unload and show home form. That's pretty simple. Then you have these two, either add constraint or add day off. So if you add constraint, meaning you clicked on button number 4. So what this will do, as you can imagine, again I want to check if all the information exists. So I'm multiplying 3 combo boxes. If one of them is blank, this will end up as a 0. Gonna get this pop-up message. Otherwise, take the values, paste them in columns A, B, C in the last row. Take range D2 and copy it to the last row, and delete 2 and 3. Just keep the name of the user or the name. So that's going to paste them over here, and just take this one and basically paste it over here, so it also works. The reason I kept the name, because I just thought the same person would probably have a few requests, so you might as well just keep their name. If you want to add a day off, it's very similar. Only in this case you have 4 inputs. And what I'm also checking, which exists here, is I'm checking if the dates make sense. So if combo box 5, which is the 2 date, if that's less than combo box 4, so that doesn't make sense, right? So the end date is before the start date. I don't want to proceed in that case. Otherwise, paste them and clear the combo boxes. All right, that was pretty simple actually. Yeah, so if you select from the 10th, going to give you that message, end date before start date. All right, and of course, using the model data setup, you can add more days off reasons, and you just have to use all of that here. All right, the last part is the book shifts function, which was probably the more complicated part of this. This is, what I got started, because that's the, let's say, the heart of the whole file. That's what generates this automated booking system. So let's take a look. The part that I want to talk about is the model itself. How are the names being booked in a way that matches the constraints? So I want to show you the booking model and then the VBA code to automate this. Basically, what happens is the VBA code will each time issue a date, a position, and a shift from this matrix. So we'll go column by column, row by row, and all 3, and we'll pull the number that is required. right? That is the needed. Using index match, I'm going to get that needed. This is not important. The drawn number is. What I'm doing is basically I have a list of people using the filter function. I'm filtering in the employee database any employee that matches the position, right? I have the position, the name, so I want to get just the people that are relevant. So that's what that gives me. Then I have 3 questions. Is that person booked for that date? Are they blocked for booking? And are they not working today? And actually booked for this date, that's going to be, well, that still is important, I guess, if you run it again. Because the first version I used, I basically draw a person every time, but to improve the speed of the macro, I ended up building this so it actually draws the bulk of people together at once, so it makes the code run much quicker. So that's coming from the VBA code. That's not important. These are the names, and basically using the using the all right. So so book this date looks for a match between the name and the date in the booked sheet. Blocked for booking. We'll take a look at the employee constraints for this key, which is the date, name, and shift. Exactly like this. And not working today, we'll take a look at the employee constraint, check if all 3 exist using countifs in 3 parameters. This one is relatively the same. I'm using the match. So if there's a match, return a no. And if there isn't, sorry, if is error. So if there's an error, meaning there's no match, then that's a no. If there is a match, return a yes, means that they're blocked for booking. You see those people are already blocked for today because they appear over here. So this function, which actually draws the number, which we'll understand in a second, so it's checking if A5 is greater than 0, so there's a name here. If there's not a name, return -1. -1, you'll see that's sort of an irrelevant number. If you do have a yes, also return -1. Otherwise, return rand with the function rand. The function rand will return a number between 0 and 1. And let me just erase those so you see how it works. This is probably these people right here. Alright, so now basically some people are already booked for a different shift, but the people that have no no's get a number between 0 and 1. Rank, if this is -1, I want to get a number 9999. You'll understand in a second. Otherwise, I'm using the function rank for E5 to the range. That's going to give me the relative position of that number within the range. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 potential people that I can book. You can see over here in the needed, I need 5 people. Over here, this is the table that I'm going to copy. So how this works, there's a number. You can see the number grows as you grow in the range. The date, cleaner, and shift depends if there's a number here and if it's less than this number. So that's why these are blank, right? I don't need them because I only need 5 people. So that's going to just copy that name over here, just to easily copy to the booked sheet. Then I have the name itself. So I'm going to look for match this number, so number 1 in this case, in this column. All right, that's this part. Index A, so that's this area, all right? So that's going to return a name, but only do that if this number is less than this number. Okay, otherwise, blank, 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 blank. Today's video is sponsored by Connecteam. Connecteam is an app that simplifies all of your business operation management. It's a perfect solution to manage, train, and communicate with your non-desk employees. I want to show you how easy it is to build your team schedule using Connecteam. Simply go on the desktop to your job scheduling, access your schedule, and select the dates. You can always click on Show Today, it'll show you today. Now first things off, you can click on Actions and copy previous week, which is nice and easy, and you can start things off the right way. You can also clear the week. Okay, so I'll get things started and copy from previous week again, just to show you. And how do you add shifts? So when you click on a cell, which means the date and the person, you have the plus sign to generate a shift from scratch or use the templates. So if you click on that plus sign, you get all the options. You get the start and end date. You get an option to set this as a repeat shift, so you can set that up right here, which is very nice. The shift title, which job, Soup of the Day or Big Burger, the two restaurants that I have here in the example. The user, that is, you can add to that shift already, or you can enable users to claim this shift, meaning they can use the app and just select it as their shift. You can type a location like New York, for example. All right. You can add some notes, you can attach files, and you can also add shift tasks that will appear and are like mini checklists. But I really like to use the templates, and the templates is where you set up. You see I set up 4 different shifts for the 2 restaurants. One is for the cook, one is for the waiter cashier. These are small restaurants. So you have 2 different templates. To build a new template, you can click on this button, Add Template, and you can just start typing everything as I showed you before. Let's say host. This could be for the soup of the day, and in New York, and save as template, and that's it. I have another option ready. Okay, so now if I want to assign people using the templates, I can click on this button and just select another template. Now you can see here, maybe you didn't notice, but as I added another shift to this person, you can see this become red because I'm overbooking that person above the limit. I can also see it here in the conflicts. Sorry, not in the conflicts, but I can see it over here. Basically, when you set up your team in the settings, in the limitations, you have an option to set up the maximum hours per week, maximum number of shifts. So whenever that exceeds that number, you'll get these warning messages to make sure that you don't overbook someone. Of course, once you publish, people can see it on their schedule. Now, if I put someone, double book him, then you would see this icon over here in conflicts, and it does show you now, it does show you that 2 overlapping shifts and also exceeding the limit and the weekly number of shifts. Okay, so that tells me I have to remove one of the shifts. All right. I can move it to here maybe and see that it's okay. Great. So that's pretty much how you can do it. At the end, you just publish, click on publish, and now you have the shifts with the people assigned to them, and you're ready to start your work week. Here's how it looks like from your employee's perspective. They can click on the notification bell and see new shifts being published. They'll get upcoming shifts over here, and they can also click on the job scheduling, where they can see a shift and accept or reject it. Take a look at the open tasks and start filling out the tasks as they filled out. I highly recommend you start using Connecteam for your daily operation. Use my affiliate link in the description. You can start now for free. Okay, so I don't have a match for 5 even though I need to because all of the other people are unavailable, so that's not going to work. And what the code will do is, as I say, move between the dates, positions, and shifts, and every time get a group, and once they're booked, paste them over here, and that's how it works. So if you understood the booking model, the VBA part is actually easier to understand because it just automates things. Let's take a look at the book shifts, and let's do it in parallel because that'll be easier to explain. So option explicit, that just means that I can use these parameters for all the subs within this project. So I'd like to use that function. I have worksheets, I have last rows, I have shift numbers, yada yada yada. Nothing fancy here. Book shifts, that's the sub that is generated when you click on the button. Sheets booking status range AK1 value equals now. That is what we talked about. That's going to generate this shape, right? We have the AK is now, and at the end, AK2 is now. That's going to give us the range of how long it took to run this code. All right, back to our shift requirements. That is WS2, because I'm going to need to pull basically this information and this information. And WS is this sheet, and obviously I want to use WS and WS2 because I thought, and I probably will have a lot of cases where I reference the range. So instead of using that long declaration, I'm going to use the short one. Shift number is in the shift requirements. That's the number of rows basically based on column 2. It's similar to the last row technique, same thing. I'm going to copy A3 in WS2. What does that do? Okay, I'm copying the formula. So if I have for column A, I just want to make sure that the key is all the way to the last row. Okay, and then I'm going to have a loop of all dates. So for date number equals 4, which is column D through 10 because it's a week. WS2.cells 1 date num, so that's going to return copy basically the date itself into WS, which is the booking model, range A2. That's what we saw, which is over here. So every time you shift a date, you copy it and paste it over here. Then I want to loop all the shifts. Last row W2 is the requirement, right? Is the last shift that I have, last row. And then I have this loop between the shift numbers starting from row number 3 all the way to the last row. I'm going to copy B through C with the shift number. That's these two. I'm going to paste them in B2 over here. So every time it changes, I refresh this area. Then I have a do while. Why do while? Because this is actually a previous version when I said I manually booked every person on its own, so I had to operate until that's over. But once I used a group booking, that's less important. But this loop will work. Do while means it's going to work as long as WS range H2, which is the remaining, is greater than 0. So every time you book, this number will decrease. And then I'm going to call book employee, which is this function, this sub, which we'll talk about soon. But in the odd case that E2 is equal to -1, that means that nobody can fill the spot. So I want to make sure H2 is 0. So in the odd case that I don't have the ability to book, just like here we saw I have only 4 people, I don't want the loop to run forever, so I'm going to manually erase or clear out H2 to close the loop so I can continue. And then I'm going to assign back the formula. Alright, so WS range H2.formula. I want to bring back the formula. I don't want it to be 0 because otherwise the loop will never go back again. And I'm going shift after shift and then date after date. After I'm finishing everything, I'm going to refresh the pivot table, which is the employee view that we saw earlier. I'm going to assign that value so I know how long it took, and I'm going to give this message shifts book information booking complete. All right, so this basically this loop goes column by column, row by row, copies these 3 parameters. This area refreshes what's available, and then this area shows us only the ones that are going to be actually booked. Let's take a look at the book employee. That's the part that takes this area over there and copy and paste this in book. It's pretty simple. So 2 sheets, booking model and booked. If I2 is greater than J2, which is what I'm checking here. Okay, this is the last formula line, and this is the last row number. So I just want to make sure that I don't have more names than I don't have the formula. So if that is the case, I will drag the formulas. So if that is the case, I'm going to look for the last row and just copy B6 through M6. So all of this, because that's all formulas. And I'm using this one just because I just want to make sure that I always have a formula ready. Just to be on the safe side, that's just going to be dragged all the way down to wherever is needed. And if there's more formulas than rows, that's okay, there's no harm. The opposite is. So once we're clear that that's okay, I'm checking if the maximum value here is -1. If that's the case, I can't assign anybody. So I'm just gonna exit the sub. Last row equals worksheet function countif +4. That's going to give me basically the number of rows that I have over here. If for some reason that is equal 4, then I have no names. I can just stop there and exit. In the odd case, I'm guessing this would probably work before that, but just to be on the safe side, I added that here. If everything is okay, I'm just going to copy J5 through M last row. Basically, that's going to show me this. Copy and paste it in the last row in the destination, which is WD booked. Very simple. And the last thing that I do in the booked sheet is copy these helping functions, which is the key and the weak keyer that I use in the pivot table. So E2, F2 copy, which is the first row, all the way to last row plus last row 3 minus 4. That gives you the range. So it's the last row over here plus whatever number of rows there are to be copied minus 4, because you start with number 4. Yeah, so I think I covered that. I think I covered everything. And just let's have a quick recap. So this file can be used to automatically book your employees. You have the ability to enter constraints. You can actually do it manually if you want, but I really recommend that you use the forms that I generated. Okay, you can update the model itself, the shifts, the positions, the reasons for days off, and you can update the employee names and their positions. And in the end, you can clear booking and book the shifts. And eventually, once you have a schedule that is okay, you can of course publish this. You can give people access and they can see the employee view. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe and hit that like button so you won't miss the next video. Please feel free to comment if you have any questions or thoughts. Have a good one.